my expression is like this because today we're going to be talking about something absolutely wild, guys. Welcome to TokeMoments. My name is TokeMakinwa. Childbirth is something that I've always been curious about. I see all the glamorous kids pictures, I see all the glamorous pregnancy photo shoots, and I always wonder about the process of bringing life to earth. Today, my guest is a beauty blogger, stunner, fashion girl. Every time I see Lola OJ, I'm always like, why are you so cool? Because I think the word cool definitely defines her. She's also a YouTuber, so I'm going to be plugging her YouTube page right before we sign out so that you guys can, go on there and learn how, you can find out tips about your makeup, your beauty, because she does lifestyle topics as well. Lola OJ is joining us right after this. Welcome to the show. I've got the beautiful Lola OJ.
Me?
This is crazy because
I'm learning work from you, Toke. Please don't.
You look effortless. Every time I see you, right from when even before we got close, I used to tell you you're my girl crush.
Yeah, no, you did. You're really sweet.
You're always well put together.
Girl, I wish.
Even if, sometimes you're not really like overly detailed.
Glammed, yeah, sure.
It's always like, what you're wearing, a jacket, trainers.
It's comfort for me.
Have a way of putting it all
Thank
together
you.
and look cool.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good to see you, girl.
Good to see you always.
You're so tiny.
Talking, sorry, you said what?
I know, and to think she just became a new mom.
You're small as well. Please don't start. Okay, you're smaller than me, please.
Honestly,
we're not doing this. You're smaller than me.
You are really tiny. I need to talk to you about how you snap back. But before we get into that, congratulations.
Thank you.
Motherhood.
Almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Time flew by, but yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
How was it like becoming a first-time mom?
Woo! I get that question a lot, and all I can say is that it's challenging, but very rewarding.
Okay.
But it's definitely challenging. I feel like you literally just leave the hospital with a baby, and you just don't really know what you're doing. Like no matter how much you read, no matter how many videos you've watched, there is still like this element of, oh my gosh, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm now responsible for this
another human being's
life, not just for a day, like forever pretty much, right? And so I had to lean a lot on my mum and friends that be mothers as well, because you don't leave the hospital with a manual. Like there's lots of support and care, I think, during pregnancy, making sure everything's okay with you and the baby. Then I feel like the moment you have the baby, you have because obviously I had her in London, you have this maybe healthcare visit, maybe come to the house maybe once, the next second time there's kind of deuces, you're on your own kind of thing. Of course they're like, oh, you can call us if you need help in this, but there's just a lot that you have to figure out on your own. And I feel like your instincts as a mother play a major part.
I wanted to talk about that instinct because, for a long time, I still don't think I'm maternal. I don't know, there's just something about me. I mean, people are like, yeah, you are, okay, look at how you love your dogs. And I love babies at a certain period.
Sure.
I love them before they start talking. I love them when all you have to do is stick a bottle in their mouth.
Sure,
and it's
sure.
like, okay.
Sure.
And then sometimes I bop them and in 20 minutes I'm like, okay, can I?
Okay, give you back. Sure.
I love it. But then just, you talked about the instinct and how to be, I still don't know what being a good mom is because I'm not a mother, but how does that motherly instinct kick in? Does it happen when you're carrying the child, or is it when you see the child and you realize
I think it's quite complicated, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everyone has this automatic bond with their child, because it's a bit disrespectful to certain mothers that have found it quite difficult. And I know everyone's experience is different. And for me, I feel like I did have a strong bond with my child, automatically from the tummy to coming into the world. But I definitely feel there were a few months after I'd had her where there were moments where I did feel a bit detached. Because there is a lot that happens to you hormonally, in due to your environment, that sometimes you now start wondering, okay, am I a good mom? And am I doing things right? Am I meant to love her a bit more? Am I allowed to feel like I'm fed up or I'm tired or your mind? Yeah, your mind plays tricks on you, and there are moments where I'll just maybe my mum would come home from work and I have that moment to shower. Because when you have a newborn, I don't think people realize, sometimes you don't get to shower for a few days unless you have someone in the home with you or something. You can't just leave your child and shower. Like, do you understand what I mean?
Because the child will definitely, if the child is sleeping, why can't you shower?
But there's something about being a first-time mum and you really don't want to get things wrong. You don't want to be like, the moment you took a shower, that's when the baby threw up and you didn't know. You just have there's a lot of anxiety. Like, I have never been so anxious in my life. My pregnancy, I was so anxious. And that's one thing that I always be like, I want more kids, but that anxiety, I don't know how often I can do that. Because there's not a moment that you do not worry about what's going on. You can't see into your stomach. You really can't.
That's another.
So you don't know what's going on in there.
We don't talk about this more. This is why I wanted to have this sort of topic.
Sure.
I feel like as women, you almost feel like society is ready to judge you if you even
100%. 100%.
Because it's like, do you know how many people are looking at
you? No, and I feel like that's a lot with I won't say Nigerian factor, maybe an African factor, but I speak more because obviously I'm Nigerian, right? But I feel like my Caucasian friends, they are so more open. Like, they will share their actual due date. They will tell you, oh, please come and take these kids off my hands. I'm going insane. They're a lot more expressive. I feel like the African culture, because you're just meant to be so grateful that you've been blessed with a child, you're not allowed to complain. You're not allowed to find anything in motherhood challenging, because if so, it means you are like, you're not grateful.
Do you see that the post recently, very most recently, I don't know if it was the UK or America, it happened, where a lady or young lady left her baby.
It was in the UK, sure.
Because she wanted to go to party. And when I saw a lot of people bashing that lady, I thought, this is clearly the reason why things that people don't have enough support.
Sure.
In terms of even just chatting, someone that just says, are you okay? Once you've had a baby, because your body has been through something.
100%.
Let's talk about when you found out you were pregnant. What was the first thought? The day you just thought, wow, another life.
I don't know if I want to talk about that, but I was obviously, like, my pregnancy wasn't like planned, if I'm obviously honest.
No, that's not even the part, just the day.
No, but so what I mean is, because when something is not, when you're trying for a baby, you're going to be excited when you find out you're pregnant, right?
Really?
Yes, most people are, because you're trying for this thing, so you're going to be excited.
True.
Now, when it's kind of unplanned, there is an element of, okay then. You have an element of shock, right? You're surprised, and then you're like, okay, what do I do?
Did you have an idea before you took the pregnancy test? Because you know, sometimes when my period is so accurate. Like in my life, I always say to people that on my period, 13th of every month.
Sure.
If it does not come on the 13th, there's something wrong. Sometimes it even comes earlier. So my body clock is very accurate.
Sure.
So was it a case of I missed my period, but
no, I didn't know I was pregnant.
Wow.
No, I didn't know.
I've always heard stories like that. Some people will go as long as 5 months.
Someone told me. Someone looked at me and said, oh, you don't know you're pregnant. I swear. And I was just like,
was your period not constant?
Well, I didn't feel like I'd missed loads.
Lola, what are you talking about? Every month you're supposed to see your period.
Yeah, I know, but I can't explain it. But either it was still coming, or I just didn't
think about it.
I honestly didn't think about it. And like you said, my periods are very regular, but there was nothing in me that was like, oh my gosh, I'm missing my periods. Like, honestly, nothing. Like, I probably found out I was pregnant when I was already like 3 months gone or something. Like, I didn't know. Like, so I was shocked.
3 months.
Probably, yeah, about thereabout, yeah.
This baby was meant to come.
Hell yeah,
it wasn't
my life.
I'm in sickness, or I'm having headaches
No,
or something.
I had like a slight, like, but you know, in Nigeria, you think like maybe it's stress or malaria. You don't really think like you're pregnant automatically. So yeah, I was shocked, and then, you know, I personally didn't know that. Like, I hadn't really had a baby in my plans for the next like 5 to 10 years. I'm like, no, because I'm really like, unfortunately, I'm one of those like career people, focused people. I want to do this. So I kind of feel like God just kind of decided to surprise me, because if not, I don't know how long I would wait to have one.
Make plans and God.
Yeah, because to be honest, I really didn't know when I was going to have a baby, because it's not something that, it wasn't a prayer point. It wasn't something that I was like, okay, by this age, I have to have this, this, and this. Like, I've never really been so big on those things. I'm always like, when it comes, it comes. Like, it's not something that I've always really focused on. So, I mean, it was a pleasant surprise, but it was definitely challenging. I mean, I'm obviously...
Were you scared?
Of course, 100%. I was scared. And that's why my mom, like, I can't praise her or thank her enough. She has been, from the beginning all the way through now, like, literally my biggest supporter, encourager. Don't worry, it doesn't matter what people think, doesn't matter what people say, your child is a blessing, just keep going. And it just gave me a kind of strength that I don't think I could have done it without her.
What was it like the first time you heard or felt your baby kick?
Oh my gosh, that was really exciting. I didn't cry. Like, I'm not really a crying person, even though, listen, pregnancy will test you in all ways. You'll be crying at things that, like, my friend bought me a gift and I started crying and she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know. And I just was crying. And they filmed it and they still up to this day, they're like, Lola, if you act too hard girl. We'll just post this video. I'm like, oh, you're so sweet. So
people feel like that's the moment you
No.
really feel this is real. And those who talk to
No,
the
it felt
babies,
real when they probably, the first scan I think was more, when I first saw and the baby looking like a baby. Like, you know, because they show earlier scans, they just still look like blobs.
Yeah.
But then when it gets deeper in, you hear the heartbeat. And then when you see the baby really look like a little human, that's when I was like, oh, that's when reality really sunk in. I was like, oh my goodness, this baby is a baby. Then when you pass I think it's 24 weeks, when they say that statistically, if God forbid, if your child is born prematurely, it would still survive. Then that's another huge milestone, because you're like, okay, even if I go into early labor, there's a huge chance that my child will still survive. Because pregnancy is scary. I can't lie, and there's horror stories. So you're trying to do your best to make sure, I don't know how to sugarcoat it, but to keep your child alive. There's no other way to describe it. You're literally every day like, okay, if there was a time I didn't feel my baby kick, I had to go to the hospital and you weren't sure, like, oh my God, is the child still alive?
For days?
No, she was just actually, funny enough, in a different awkward position.
How did they get them back to the right position?
No, they don't. They just find the heartbeat and then, oh, she's fine, go home. Because these midwives and nurses, they've seen all sorts, right? So they're just always like, go home, the baby's fine. You're not even a high-risk pregnancy, you're fine.
Oh my word.
But even though, no joke, I had no complications during my whole pregnancy, nothing.
The mental strain of pregnancy on a woman, when you've had the baby and just not recognizing
100%.
again.
100%.
How long did it take you?
I still don't really. Yeah, I still have major insecurities about my body. And and this is the thing, everyone will say, oh, it's fine, but this is not the body I'm used to. Does that make any sense?
Remember you tinier than this.
I was. Your body changes, no matter how small or how it looks to the outside world that you look the same. Trust me, you're just not, it's like you're in new skin in a new body. You've got things on your body, even if you're saying, oh, stretch marks, yes, you'll grow to love them, but initially, they weren't there before. Maybe the gravity of your breasts, they're not as up as they used to be. It's gonna make you feel a bit insecure. You might have some excess skin around your tummy, so even though you still look slim, when you look in the mirror, you don't necessarily recognize the body that you have been born with, that you've been carrying all these years. It looks like somebody else's body.
Do you think those things also further lead to people with postnatal depression? Because I remember, while we were on a break, I did say to you that
Sure.
I know someone who gave birth and didn't touch her child for
Sure.
6 to 8 months.
Sure.
And this was 6-7 years back, and the awareness for postnatal depression
Was a lot less than, yeah.
We didn't even know that was what it
Sure.
was. She just wasn't with it and just would cry all the time and just felt ugly. as
Yeah,
you said.
sure,
So
sure.
do you feel like those body changes, there are things that people can do to sort of help themselves get to the process?
I think number one, what we need to do is talk more about the realities of having children and stop silencing women that have perhaps want to express the challenging sides of motherhood, birth, and pregnancy, right? I think so much so we don't glamorize childbirth. We just don't talk about it. So it's not like we're like, oh, you're gonna just push out 5 minutes. No, we're just not really told the stories of people that go before us. Maybe they don't want to scare us because they think we might not want to do it, or they're trying to suppress their own trauma, because I'm sure
it's traumatic.
Listen, some people have smooth births, so don't get me wrong. You might be that person, and yes, I know prayer works, and yes, I know all this, but let's be real here as well. People that don't have easy births, it's not because they don't pray. It's just life, right? You win some, you lose some. Everyone has different crosses to bear.
And I also think people need to tone down this whole Hebrew woman talk. We've come a long way.
A long way, sure.
When people weren't even bold to admit that they had C-section.
What do you mean? Even when I had a C-section and someone maybe an auntie or an older person, and I was like, oh yes, they're like, oh, don't tell anybody that. And I said to her, why ma? They're like, oh, because nobody would know. And I said, but why is it a bad thing if they know? Statistically, a lot of women have been saved and their babies have been saved through C-sections. And also, if you want to choose to have a C-section, it's your choice. But people make it seem like it's an easy way out. It's not. Not every doctor's they don't just give you C-sections. They don't. Like, people make it seem like, oh, you just choose to have a C-section. They don't just say, oh, you don't want to push, have a C-section.
I think religion also plays a lot of mind games.
Sure.
Because I've been in sermons and churches where people come and give testimonies of having a child and they're like, oh, the doctor said the baby is coming, was not dilated.
Yeah, sure.
I now call pastor. Pastor now said, you will give birth like Hebrew woman. They had already brought the blade for C-section, but I called upon the name of God and I pushed and the baby came out. And I'm like, the people sat in this congregation who had C-section.
Sure, facts.
How are they supposed to feel?
Facts.
Like,
and that's the thing. This is a fact. And this is the same way that some of these pastors' wives, after 25 years of marriage, have kids IVF. They're not allowed to say it.
Why?
Don't get me wrong. You don't have to tell everyone you have IVF. It's a personal thing. You don't have to share it. But what you shouldn't do is condemn those or talk down on those that's like, you weren't praying for long enough if you went to go and seek science. No, darling. Like, your body also has, and your life at time. I think God gave us the brains to do things like fly. If you can get in a car, then you can't tell me I can't use a doctor for something. Because
surrogacy, there are many religions that will frown on it. Or many traditions that will be like surrogacy care. Then you. But
guess what? If those people actually had real difficulties giving birth and they couldn't do IVF, they would opt for surrogacy. Because people long and quest for children. In no matter what forms, adoption or whatever, to me, it's all acceptable. Different strokes for different folks. But what I don't want is the voices of women to be silenced. If you feel depressed, even though you're in love with your child, you should be able to say, guys, I am depressed, come and help me, rather than people say, we should be grateful now. See how many people are looking for children. That doesn't take away from your experience or how you're feeling with your child. Even the person that prayed for that child, they're still going to have challenges with that child. Because it's still an emotional, hormonal, physical change. So let's not pretend that it makes you weaker if you feel a certain way.
Thank you so much for being that honest. Guys, I've heard it all. Childbirth, pregnancy, the change, the mental roller coaster. I do applaud Lola for being so honest and not holding back about everything. I definitely am hoping that I become a mom soon.
Amen, you will, when you're ready.
Do you remember at Lisa's wedding when I found out that you just had a baby? Everybody
yes.
It was like, I was like, when is it gonna be my turn? But I'm hoping and I'm praying that it happens soon.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Lola.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. There you have it, guys. That's it on this episode of TokeMoments. Join us again next week. You never know what we'll be talking about. It's popcorn worthy. Trust me. Goodbye.